Greetings of peace, everyone. Welcome. Good afternoon. Meditation Cafe warmly welcomes every one of you to the Four Faces of Woman workshop. I'm Dimple, and indeed it's an honor for me to be with you this afternoon. So before we begin, I'd like to begin with a couple of housekeeping. So first and foremost, I put an example on the chat box, if you can see. Kindly rename yourself as, because we have translation for you, you can actually click on the interpretation button below, and you have translation in Chinese, Korean, and Tamil languages. So Korean, if you're listening to Korean translation, please put Korean, comma, followed by the name you want us to call you. Now this would help us because when we have breakout rooms, we will be actually putting the same language people together so that it'll be easier during the breakout sessions. Yeah, so I see some of you have already done it. So if you can, put your language, Korean or Chinese or Tamil, followed by your name that you want us to address you or know you by. I hope you know how to do that. You can go to the three dots next to your name and you can choose rename and you can select that option. If anybody has any question regarding this, can put it in the chat box and we will address to you. Somebody will come back to you. Is that okay? So that's our first housekeeping rule. And then I told you about the languages. We have translation in Korean, Mandarin, Tamil. The base language will be in English. So it would be nice if you could prepare yourself with some pen, a few sheets of paper or a notebook, some writing materials, because in case you need to take down notes along the way. And if you're using mobile phone to connect with us, maybe you want to put it on silent mode. If you're not using mobile phone, if you're using your computer or laptop, then you could very well put your handphones on airplane mode. That will give less disturbance, or you would be able to focus on this workshop better. And yeah, sorry. And an outline of this program has also been emailed to you. So roughly this program is from 2 p.m. now up to 6 p.m. And if you have any questions, use the chat box to type in your questions, and somebody will address your query or your questions. And most of all, smile and enjoy yourself. So that's the housekeeping. And about Four Faces of Woman, the author. Now, Four Faces is actually a book. Let me show it to you. Can you see it? Four Faces of Woman. We have Sister Caroline Ward with us, the author of the book, right in front of us. And this is also a CD that has meditation tracks. Now, these are available on sale online. We could give you more details. The book, yes. Okay, so Sister Caroline will get back to you. About the speaker, I like to read a little bit about Caroline Ward, because I know she doesn't like us to read much. She's the author of the book of Four Faces of Woman, and also the book, My Courage, Your Courage. She is facilitated the Four Faces retreat in more than 60 countries, including Chile, where she lived for 13 years. Her great interest is in the transformation of how women feel all around the world. And she's a meditationist. She practices it for over 30 years now. And Caroline is currently based in Melbourne, Australia. Now, I won't take up a lot of time introducing or reading from the paper about Caroline Ward because the list is endless. Personal experience with Caroline Ward myself, I was really, really very touched by her book. I've read the book, and it all started when I attended the workshop, not conducted by her. So you all are very, very, very lucky, and also my pleasure to have Sister Caroline in live with us for this session. So Caroline Ward, Sister Caroline Ward is currently doing some very interesting art, which is known as neurographic art. I got to know this when I met her. It was a fortune to get to know her just a few days before the program. And it's really very, very interesting. Hi, sister. And I would like to show you, if you don't mind, a little bit work of Sister Caroline Ward herself, which she did share with us. 1 second, just let me, yeah. Okay, I'd just like to share a little bit. This is what Sister Caroline Ward shared with us the other day, something that she did herself. And I took up a few more pictures from the internet, just skimmed through them. Okay, so just for you all, okay. Now this neurographic art, according to Sister Caroline Ward, is very, very healing. It helps in the healing. And it's a simple way to work on the subconscious mind through drawings, and it stimulates the right side of the brain. And I really, really appreciate, I went and digged up a lot of information about it myself when Sister talked about it, and really was very fascinated. Sorry, I'm very excited actually, so I'm very sorry. So it is really very beautiful of how they soften the edges using the black markers. And I was really, really moved by it. And really, I felt the effect. And Sister has been working with women. In particular, she has a soft corner for mothers, I found out. It is so nice, you know, because mothers, as many of you, if you are mothers here, I think we go through a lot of things in life. Particularly mothers, but of course, all women. I will not say, you know, all women actually go through a lot in life. So, sister, I wouldn't want to take any more time, and I would like to pass it on to you. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Dimple. Very, very kind of you. And I would like to say a very warm summer's day welcome from this part of the world where I am based these days. And Dimple said that's in Melbourne. It's a little outside of Melbourne, and I'm blessed to be able to live on a property in a retreat type of environment. You may hear birds. There are any moment kangaroos jump past. There are deer, there are koala. It's a very blessed environment. So that's just to give you a bit of a sense of where I'm sitting. I know I've got this virtual background, but in fact, I'm on 40 acres of beautiful Australian nature. But right now I'm here with you, and that is my great pleasure. It really is my pleasure, my honor to be with you all. And if I look, I see we're 120 women here today. That's pretty incredible. And I know that we're across a number of languages. So I'm glad I've said that to myself, which means I need to remember to speak more slowly, which is, I have to say, sometimes a little challenging when I come together with a group of women around these ideas that the time that we're in is truly calling for the power of the feminine. I know that the kind of power of the, let me say, out of balance masculine has created the kind of world that we're in. In fact, the out of balance masculine and feminine. And what we're doing here is that we are looking to bring back into alignment the deep feminine, the sacred feminine that lives within each and every human being. But if women don't have this connection to that power, if we're not prepared and courageous enough to stand up in it, then there's no way that men will do that either. And this feminine is what the world is deeply calling for right now: deep healing, massive transformation. And in our own hearts and our own minds, I think most of us are longing for a return to something that's more true, that's something that is more harmonious, to a greater sense of truth and beauty. And of course, that we feel that life is not a struggle, that in fact it flows, that it's easier, that we can enjoy our relationships, we can create without fear, and we can choose the way that we would love to be living, and that way of living would be not only nourishing us, but nourishing and inspiring those around us just by being. Some people think I'm idealistic. I think there's no point in just settling for the realistic if the realistic isn't how you kind of in your heart, you know, we ought to be living. There's a deep memory in the soul, really deep longing for something. And so for me, it's not about being ideal or idealistic. It's about dreaming and committing to that dream. And I think together, that's how we start to move the world. And I think we're in that at the moment, though we see it's very challenging. But our old systems are breaking down and the new systems are emerging. And we can all play our part. Where do we help the world weight its balance in what we would choose, and which is full of love, or what we're afraid of, which is the darkness. So today is about understanding this process. I would like to start by inviting you to take a moment to set your own intention, because while I'll have a particular framework which I'll offer, the wonder of the Four Faces is that it's not prescriptive. It's something that really offers you a window into your own self right here, right now, what you're ready for, what you haven't yet seen in your own way of being that is perhaps impeding or is blocking your way of choosing life that serves you more, that serves others more. And it gives you a way of seeing your most beautiful self. So it's very much about you today, not about me. I'm going to give you some framework, but if you set your intention of what you would like to get from today, what you are going to be fully engaged in today, I know you're in your living room or your office or your bed, sitting on your bed or your balcony or wherever you are, wherever in the world, and you can just be, your camera is off, you're on mute, you can walk away and you can come back, you can go and do whatever. But I would invite you to be part of co-creating today an incredible circle of atmosphere, of power that is going to potentially offer you your next steps, which you will discover by being very present. It's not about me, it's about you. So the invitation is wherever you are, be present. And we'll do our best to try and keep it dynamic enough that you stay engaged, but it's your decision too. So by setting your intention, that will work with your subconscious mind. And what it will do is it will help you to, as I'm presenting something or someone else is sharing in your group, your subconscious mind is going to be scanning the environment for everything that is being said or shown that is speaking directly into your intention that you're about to set now. So then you've got a heightened kind of scanning effect going on at an unconscious or subconscious level that is in support of you getting the best out of today. So let's do it without further ado. So I'd like you to just sit for a moment and let's do a little bit of meditative reflection as we do this. So be as comfortable as you can be, and if you have your camera on, all good. It's lovely to see your face, and just now we're going to go into some breathing. We're already breathing, therefore we're alive. But I want you to perhaps close your eyes and just become aware of your breathing. And as you continue to breathe, take a deep breath. Really allow the lower part of your lungs to expand and have spaciousness in your breathing. And as you exhale, relax your shoulders and exhale the air in your lungs completely and return to normal breathing. And with each breath that you take, just allow your shoulders to relax more, your chest, your back, good. And another deep breath, expanding, and hold for a moment. And this time as you exhale, relax your jaw, allowing the top and the bottom part of your jaw to become very loose and separate, relaxed. And breathe normally. And as you continue to breathe, relax your neck, your tongue, your mouth, your shoulders. And one final deep, expansive, spacious breath. And as you exhale, allow your eyes to soften and become a little heavy. And breathe normally. And as you breathe, relax your cheeks, your forehead, your scalp. And in this relaxed, more focused state, continuing to breathe normally, but probably a little deeper now than before. I want you to set your intention. And what I mean by that, by committing this time together this afternoon, this 4 hours, what would you hope to feel, to know, and maybe even have resolved? What would you want at the end of this commitment to yourself? I'm going to ask you to write that down. So take your pen and paper, or however you're noting things down today. And write down, what is your intention? Where are you tracking towards over the next 3.5, 4 hours? And once you've written it down, just bring yourself back into this eyes closed, centered space. I want you to create the feeling here and now of that outcome. I want you to imagine we've traveled in time, that it's just after 6. We're all saying goodbye. And however you wanted to feel and whatever you are hoping to clarify or to gain from today, have the sense that, yes, I got that. And maybe unexpected and perhaps surprising, but yes, I found what I was looking for. And feel that energy in your body now. And if you imagine looking at the screen full of faces, imagine those faces all smiling and bright and luminous, like every single one of us attained what we were looking for. And intensify that experience now and see the light in all of those eyes, those smiles. And know that it is done. It is done. It is done. And bring yourself gently back into this moment, here and now, which is about almost 2:30. And feel your feet, wherever they are, on the floor beneath you. Some of you may be sitting cross-legged. Feel them under your legs and between the chair. Take a nice deep breath. And as you breathe out, give a nice big sigh. And here we are. Great. Good. And as you can see, we've been asked to rename ourselves, as it says in the chat. Put our language first, then a comma, then our name. This is a very practical thing, so that when we're moving you into breakout rooms, and I know I'm going to say this now and again later, but I know that a lot of people turn up now and they just sort of sit in a very incognito way behind the privacy of no camera and in the privacy of their own screen. And when the breakout rooms come, they go. I'm going to ask you to not do that today. Because why? I think as women, we don't value our own voice. And my experience of working in different moments in my life in Asia, often Asian women really don't value their own self-expression. Different places do. I think the Philippines are pretty good at standing up for themselves, but a lot of other places not. And as women generally, we hide. And the Four Faces is a practice ground. You don't have to get it right. You don't have to be clever. You don't have to know everything. In fact, all of that is rubbish, I have to say. We're just learning to show up. We're learning to find our own voice. We're learning to reclaim, recover, and reconnect with what is true and beautiful and powerful and really easeful. So it's an easy life where we have the right to express in any moment who we are without fear of being judged, of being not accepted, of being outcast. And if we are, it doesn't matter. So please stay today and participate in everything. It's really like our laboratory, our collective laboratory. And the invitation is stay. And if in the lab we have a few explosions, it doesn't matter. That's how you learn. I've had many explosions in my life, but you learn that way. So welcome. If you don't know how to rename yourself, your language, you go up to the corner of your little square and there's the 3 dots. You click on the 3 dots and you scroll down to where it says rename. You click on that and you type in this top right hand square of your screen. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little overview of the Four Faces, and today I want to do 2 exercises which are a lot of, or 3 exercises really, which are about where we're at now, where we get, okay, I was going to use colloquial language like sideswiped, where we get hijacked, where we sabotage ourselves unknowingly. And, you know, there's a saying that in order to defeat your enemy, you need to know your enemy and their strategy. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on that, not a lot, because we have a short period of time this afternoon, but we will have a look at that, where we are hijacked. And then we're going to spend more time on the powers that enable us to overcome that hijacking, to supersede the obstacles, to terminate the habit of self-sabotage, and to arrive and stand back in our own truth. Now, that's not going to happen in 3 hours, of course. You know, that's a lifetime of work. But today, or work, attention maybe, a lifetime of love, self-care, of commitment to our own magnificence. And these words might sound not, in this moment, they may not feel like they belong to you. As I speak them, you might not feel connected to them. And I can tell you, you know, I've been doing this work of the Four Faces for almost 30 years, maybe 25 years, 5 years, and working with women for about nearly 30 years. And before that and during, but especially before, I was someone who was so self-conscious, so low in my self-esteem. I felt like I didn't fit anywhere. I tried to please everyone in order to be accepted and feel like I could be liked and included. But I had so much fear of being excluded, of not being good enough. And I would say the fear in the end, I remember being at university and I had so much fear that people would find out I was faking it. I was just pretending. Because I was pretending everywhere I was. I could turn up here and I would be someone, and then I'd go here and I'd be someone else, and then over here I'd be another person. If they all came together, I was really stuck, because who would I be if everyone was all together in one place? I would be very conflicted. But I was deeply unhappy, even though the world looked at me and would have thought I was successful and I was joyful and maybe even popular, though I never felt it. And I was struggling. I would say the underlying thing was hopelessness. I didn't have hope in myself or in the world. And I didn't see what I could do or where I could fit. And I didn't really care so much about life. And even I remember at university feeling so lost. I remember that my prayers to God, I grew up a Catholic, though I left the tradition early on, but I remember praying to God that I would die. And I did tend towards the dramatic, no doubt. But it was because I just felt like it was too hard. And I know today, in this sort of the aftermath, or we're still in the whole COVID story, there are many people who are struggling a lot. And if you are one of those people, truly my heart is with you. I know what it's like when the world around us seems just too overwhelming and we don't know how to cope. But I can promise you that today, after learning some of the things that you will be able to fast track, it took me a lot longer, I would say, but you will be able to fast track these things. That today can be a day that will shift things for you. Many women say from all over the world, probably now it's 80 or more countries, that for them this Four Faces can be really a before and after. So I wish that for you. I wish you great clarity and courage today. And whatever else you're intending, I wish that for you. So I'm going to share my screen now and show you a bit of an overview of the Four Faces. So that you've got a sense of where we go from here. Very quick overview. Okay. Good. So Four Faces was initially a workshop that we did for 7 days with 350 women from 42 countries in Mount Abu, a mountaintop in India. Some of you know it very well, and others would have visited, I would say. And these Four Faces were about how could we go beyond the world of scarcity of the patriarchy, where there was always competition and comparison for everyone, but women especially had very few opportunities in a hierarchical structure. So whether that's government or different businesses or organizations, where there were very, very few opportunities and roles, positions for women. And so women competed with each other for those scarce opportunities. And we weren't very nice to each other, and that still continues. And so we brought this Four Faces as a response to say, you know what? If you come from the feminine rather than the masculine model, it's not hierarchy, and we can all access power, and we can change the playing field. We can tell a different story. We can change the game. Because if you look at Mother Nature, which is the ultimate in the feminine power, right? If you look at Mother Nature, there is an abundance, a flourishing. There is always enough. And even today, with 8 billion people on the planet, there is enough, although our human nature in that hierarchical structure means that a few get a lot and a lot get very little. So the feminine says, no, there's enough for everyone. And so the Four Faces was our response after the 4th International Conference in Beijing back in 1995. And we said, this model will help us understand and experience that we can all, in a sense, have it all. But what is it all? Let's go check it out. So the journey begins with the eternal face. And the eternal face is the original form. And it's the beginning. It says that when we're born, each and every one of us, this tiny spark of pure consciousness, this star energy that enters the mother's womb and gives life to the fetus. And anyone who's a mother knows when that happens, because then as soon as that soul enters, the baby starts to move. It kicks and it shifts, and it's like the soul comes in and goes, what's going on here? Where am I? And it's there for another 5-6 months or something as the soul starts to give form, greater form to the sort of being, the little being that is the fetus. And this is the beginning. It's the seed, the very first time the soul enters the mother's womb. And the soul doesn't have to have any labels to be enough. It's this spark of divine energy. And it just is, I am. I don't have to give any justification for that. I am. And it's simple and it's complete and it's full in that. And it's born. And when the baby is born, and those of you who are mothers, I'm not a mother, but I see what it is, these incredible human beings who are able to be a custodian and a carer for some new life. And I've seen my sisters, I have 3 sisters and 2 of them are mothers. And these little babies, and they've been carrying this energy, not just the physical form, but this energy in their womb, in their body for 6 or more months since the soul entered. And they have a connection with this being. And when they hold the being, and I've asked many, many mothers this, and you'll be able to say, you can put in the chat, tell me your experience. If you're a mum or you've held a baby. And when you hold that baby, of course, you look at the little nose and you look at the fingernails and the eyelashes and everything is incredible, and the smell, and it's pudgy and it's amazing. And you see and feel beyond just the body and the molecular structure. of that form of the body. There's a presence, and it's sacred, and it's I am. But we're born into context, and we're born into the world. And in the world, there are already systems underway. You're born into a family structure, you're born into dynamics, you're born into usually patriarchy, and you're born into relationships. And the child absorbs from in the womb until the age of 7, they say now. And we absorb around us all of the norms, all of the unspoken and spoken rules, expectations, guidance of how we should be. We're very smart. We have antenna. We pick up everything. And as we do, we are in our amazing minds. We start to put the puzzle together and we say, okay, I know who I need to be and how I need to be in order for my life to be able to function well in this context, in my family, in my culture, in my gender. And as I, oops, sorry, I'm just checking the internet is okay. If someone can tell me in the chat if my internet is okay. Can you give me a sign? Am I okay internet-wise? Someone thinks I lost. No, okay. Yeah, so we're born into this world of religion and school and socioeconomic status in our family, whether we're rich or poor or in between, and all our parents' beliefs and what they've inherited from their stories. And so we wear what we call the traditional face. Whoops. And the traditional face is I am who you say I am. I get the messages. This is what I should be. This is how I should act. This is what I should say. And very often for girls growing up, you have to be good girls. You have to be polite. You have to fit in. You have to be helpful. You have to be in service of. You have to be sacrificing. So there's all these rules. And I want, as I'm telling this, for you to sort of start to have a sense of your own story. I'm going to ask you some questions in a moment. So where you come from, where you fit in your part of the world, in your family situation, how do you know who you needed to be when you were growing up? Who did you need to be? What were the rules? What are the rules? And here is where we conform. We become what others want us to be. We adopt different labels and ways of being in order to fit in, to be approved, to belong, etc. But the soul is an unlimited, unbounded, unfettered, full potential being. We're amazing. Human beings are amazing. And so at some point, at different points, this traditional face of conformity becomes so constraining that the soul kind of pops its head out and pushes back, resists, struggles against, rebels, and says, no way, I'm not who you say I am. And here is where we emerge the modern face. And this is the intention to reform, to try and move things, move the power structure. Because in the traditional face, if you're not at the top of the pyramid, it's a fight for power. And we see that, right, in all relationships, in parents and adolescents. I used to fight with my mum a lot. I struggle for power and control. And so that rebelliousness is trying to get back a sense of your own self and your own power that you vaguely remember from this time when you were pristine, when you first were just I am. But the thing is, we're struggling and fighting against that which we don't want. And so our focus is still against something. It's not yet for something. And the modern face and the traditional face, they're two sides of the one coin, because I don't know about you, but I definitely need to feel secure in my life. There are times when I'm bold and adventurous and I feel like, oh, it's scary here, but I couldn't live like that all the time. Maybe some of you can, but I sure couldn't. But I couldn't sacrifice freedom either. I couldn't sacrifice feeling like I can live my life, my truth. I couldn't sacrifice that completely just to feel safe, because this safety, this security of the traditional face is very conditional on me conforming to a certain set of rules. If I don't conform, then I'm out. I don't get to feel secure. So we're going to explore these two things now. And I'm going to ask you to reflect on these following questions for yourself. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and come back. So I want you to think about these next questions. No, I will share the screen again in a moment. But when you conform, and we all do, in small ways and in big ways, and I don't mean conform where we're cooperating as a society, right? Where we stop at red lights and we're polite with other people because that allows the society to work well. I don't mean that kind of conformity. I mean where we shut ourselves down, where we go quiet and we just give up and we surrender and sacrifice and conform. And we sort of go dull and it's against our own being, that sort of conformity where we act. I'll give you an example. I think I shared this last time. I have a friend whose daughter when she was born, she was such a beautiful child, and all of her family and friends, everyone loved this little girl and gave her so much positive energy. And the little girl would all she'd have to do is, smile, and everybody would be in total delight. And she would get all this positive energy and people would clap. And what happened was that she grew up knowing that if she pleased others, she would get this avalanche of positive energy. So she would be, 8 years old, asking, could she clear the table from dinner? And could she please stack the dishwasher? Could she, she was a great helper. But it was all about conforming to this idea of being a good girl. And then she would get the positive affirmation. And it doesn't mean you can't be helpful and all of that, but you lose yourself. And as time grew on, she grew up and she started in her adolescence and her teens. She felt very lost and started cutting herself and self-harming. And she's had to go through a lot of kind of waking up and coming back to self-love in order to overcome those initial kind of shaping and forming. So it's that kind of conforming where we just fit in. So I'm going to ask you these two questions, and I want you to just reflect for a few minutes on for both the traditional and the modern faces. What is the promise of the traditional face? Like when you conform and you go, okay, I'll do what they want. What are you personally hoping to get from that? And with the modern face, when you stand up and you have your voice and you push back and you're bold and you say no more, what are you longing for when you do that? And it might be in a very subtle way. You might not be someone who's really outwardly aggressive and put your stand assertively. You might be someone who stops speaking. And someone says, are you okay? You say, I'm fine. And they say, you sure there's something wrong? Could be your husband or your partner or your mother or your colleague. And you feel like you have no power to say what you really feel and to change the situation. So you just withdraw and you stop playing the game. And it's your way to get power back. So if that's the way you do it, withdrawal, or escaping or whatever, what is the promise of what are you trying to get from that behavior, that attitude, that action? And then for both the traditional and the modern face, what are the costs? Like what do you lose when you conform, when you rebel or kind of do that resistance that is the modern face? So just for the next few minutes, you're going to have 3 minutes to reflect on this. Might give you a little bit more, but 3 minutes, you're going to write down, what are these two things? What is the promise of the modern face, the traditional face? What are you hoping to get? And what are the costs? What do you lose? What's at risk for both of those faces? And then we're going to go into the breakout rooms, and you're going to go there and you're going to use them as your laboratory. So just for the next couple of minutes. Okay, looks like we're good to go then. Okay. Good. All right, so I am going to, in a moment, get our tech team to pop you into breakout rooms. Now, I noticed that when I said breakout rooms, we lost already 11 people. And I was warned about this, that there will be people who just don't want to go into breakout rooms. And I would say, be courageous. You can do this. And you don't have to have answers. This is a place to explore together, to find out what it is that makes us go outside of ourselves over a long period of time, and then how are we going to come back to ourselves? But just before we go into our breakout rooms, I'm going to ask that everybody write in the chat where you are in the world at the moment. Which city are you in the world in this moment? Where are you? I'm going to write mine. So there we are. I'm in Amsterdam, Ipoh, Malaysia. Come on, everyone write. Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, Kobe, Japan. Yay, I know Kobe. Desaru, JB, Singapore. Come on, we're 130 women. Foshan, China. Yay. This is great. Wow. Istanbul, Turkey. Fantastic. Singapore, Penang. Isn't this wonderful?
Cambodia as well.
Cambodia,
Yeah. India as well.
India, Cambodia,
Hong Kong.
Israel, Hong Kong, Aloseta. I don't know if I pronounced that right. In Malaysia, Singapore. Nobody has written from Korea.
Korea,
Yes.
Busan, Korea.
Yeah. I think if everyone has to write in English, right? Yeah.
The messages are going to direct people, so some of them are not coming to the everyone group.
Oh, okay.
There are lots and lots of states and countries here.
Yes. So fantastic. So yeah, you need to write it to everyone. Anyway,
Yeah.
just make sure you're sending to everyone,
Yes.
not to
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
personal friends. But look at that. Isn't that just wonderful? From the Middle East and all around Asia, from India, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, China, Singapore. Just wonderful.
Philippines. Yeah.
Philippines, Cambodia. Brilliant. Fantastic. Great. So look at all of that. This is wonderful. Okay, so we are now going to go into the breakout room. So you're going to have a breakout room with people who are going to be with the language that you have. Oh, someone from Canada. Wow, fantastic. So you're going to be with people people in the language that you have put at the front of your name. So if you haven't yet put the language, we'd ask you to do that now, to rename yourself with your language. That helps us make sure that you get into a language group of people that you can share with. And you're just going to share what this means for you, the traditional face, the modern face, this idea of the eternal face. And these two questions, like, what do you go looking for? What do you get? And what does it cost you? Or what is the risk? What do you lose? You don't have to have the answers. This is a space of exploring, of coming to know a little bit more for yourself and to hear others' experience. Please make sure that everyone gets to share. Maybe when you get into the room, you can agree on someone who will be the person to make sure everyone gets a chance to share. So agree who that person will be that will look after everyone's voice. And you're going to have somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes. And you might think that's a long time, but it's really not. So we'll duck around to the rooms and we'll see how you're going. And if you need a little more time, we'll give a little more time. And then we're going to come back and in the big room, we'll share as well. Either in the chat or we'll get you to, if you have the courage, to share in voice. So that's it really. We're going to send you off into those breakout rooms now. We've already lost another 7. It's incredible. Don't go, stay. And honestly, it will change your world. Okay, can we send everyone into the breakout rooms, please? For the next sort of 15 to 20 minutes, there'll be 3 or 4 of you in each room. All you have to do is accept When you're invited to join, just accept and off you go. Okay, so if you're here and you're here with English and you can understand me without translation, just type in the chat any kind of aha or anything that was interesting for you in that conversation. Just jump on the chat right now and let us know what was interesting. What did you discover? Okay, no one's doing it yet. Was there nothing interesting? Welcome back, everyone. Yes, Jenny, let's, as everyone's coming back in, Jenny, what would you like to? You've got your hand raised. Did you want to say something?
Oh yeah, no, I just want to say hi because
Oh, hi.
yeah, hi.
Great.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
Good. Were you in a conversation?
Yes, I talk a lot, during the group chat. Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, well, glad to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So what I'd like to ask you to do is put in the chat anything that you discovered, or what was your experience, or how was the conversation? What was an aha moment? Just everybody jump on and write in the chat for the next minute. Let's see what we get, because we're not going to be able to hear from everyone like we're all in the same room. But if you put in the chat, and if you have any questions or things, you can put them there as well in the chat to everyone. Okay, so good connection, beautiful connection. The feminine part can be quite strong in some men too, yeah? Tamil is one of the oldest languages in the world. That's why it sounds like poetry. I love the sharing of May's mom. Okay, I want to hear that. Very insightful. In my group, I had participants from South Korea, India, and Hong Kong. It's beautiful, Jessica, isn't it? Yeah. In the group chat, we learned balance between traditional and modern is essential. We'll come back to that. Thanks very much. Vina, nice to meet like-minded people. Bet and I face the same risks of making a promise to ourselves. I only met her 2 seconds ago. Yeah. Thanks, Estrella. I found that every single person has a different default value. That's really interesting, Nina. Awareness. Had a chat, it was wonderful. Women have to balance to make the world beautiful. Okay, if we operate from compassion for self and others, then there will be balance. Louisa, I rebelled right from childhood. Yeah, I have another niece like that too. Everyone had a lot in common, our ideas, experience, enjoy sharing. I learned to fill myself up and don't waste time on what others are doing to let you down. Okay, go Archie. Great conversation. And that women, no matter which part of the world you're from and what your educational, cultural background is, we face similar situations. That's so true. Oh, there's a Brother Choi. There's a fellow in the room. That's interesting. He snuck in, spoke about his mother, who was a traditional woman, very kind and gentle. So beautiful, peaceful, positive energy, wonderful conversation on balance of both faces. Is the four faces representing the four ages? In that case, no, not really. Not really. They're more energy rather than time. Experience of multifaceted between traditional modern interface. Aha, the moment. I let others determine what to do, who to be, or I fight with others. I lose myself, everything. Yeah. Chandra said you can become arrogant when you stand up. And this is true. So what I'd like to ask you, there's lots of messages, that's great. So in the Philippines, even traditional women have much freedom, respect, etc. within the family, yeah. Everything was kind of contexted, yes. Modern face is also painful, just as traditional face, but we might not always perceive the modern face that way as it seems powerful, but it's an illusion. Very, very interesting. Because of traditional, we're obedient. We didn't lose anything. Oh, interesting. Enjoyed the practical conversation. Yeah, great. So what are the risks? I realized the past version of the original me and the modern version, who I try to be myself, and each of them has good and losing points. And also knew that we all share same and similar feelings as women. Yeah, so true. The modern face, confident and satisfaction. So this is very good, very interesting, awesome session. We shared our experiences from 3 different countries. Great to realize ourself and our own identity and to create my own destiny by taking charge of my divine powers. Okay. How to solve the problems of the modern woman, not accepted and lonely. So that's a very interesting one, Lalita, that you finished there, because the modern face is about feeling powerful from feeling powerless, is about feeling free from feeling trapped and controlled. And as you're saying, Mina, you feel like a lone wolf because you're against the patriarchy. And this is very much what we're talking about. When we need both security and we need freedom, and belonging, Prema's saying belonging may cost that I lose my original self. I transact, I go, well, okay, I'll do that because then I'll get approval, I'll belong, I'll be accepted. I fit in with what everybody wants. So, okay, I'll do that. But somehow a part of me just gets lost. Yeah, very good point. And Mina, where you say I'm very much against the patriarchy, but I feel like a lone wolf at most of the time. Because when you're against something that has all the power, you're definitely excluded. You exclude yourself because you don't want to be in it, you don't want part of it, but you will be excluded too. And therefore, you do feel alone. Someone said before, freedom may cost, the cost may be ending up alone. And this is really true. And Lalita is saying, when one is younger, it's fine. But when you get older, you find you don't fit in anywhere. And that's sad, not powerful. So true. So the thing is, the modern face is it is a first step. It's like you don't know what to do or how to do it, but so you push back, you resist, you fight, you're against. But if the seed of your againstness, if that where you come from is, hold a moment, there's no Chinese translator. So wherever your focus is, with the modern face, it says, I'm not who you say I am. And it's like pushing back And it can be in the whole of life, or it can be in moments. We'll take a break. And when we come back, we're going to look at what's a better option than submitting and conforming or fighting, because both of them have gains, but they have temporary and limited gains, and both of them have costs. We either lose ourselves, or we lose our clan, we lose our family, we lose our companions. So we're losing our peace, or we're losing our happiness, or we're losing something. So we're going to come back after a break, and we're going to look at what's the next step. How do we recover ourselves? And that is about the power to return to who I am. So 10-minute break, go and have a bit of a stretch, get yourself a cup of something. If you need to warm up or you need to cool down, go and do that. And we will start again on the dot of 5 to 4. Is that right? Yes, 5 to 4 in Malaysia time, Asia time. For me, it'll be 5 to 7. Bharti, freedom is fundamentally important. Yeah. And Chandra, we're going to talk about balance and where that comes from. Okay, everyone, you can leave your screens on, you can do whatever you want. Just go take yourself a 10-minute break, and we're back in at start at 5 to the hour, wherever that is that you are. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of music on, and we go from there. Okay. If everyone is back. So definitely each of us will have a tendency to opt for one or the other faces, with a occasional kind of visit, if you like, to the traditional or modern, whichever is our least dominant. But these are two faces of survival. When we're not fully connected to ourselves, when we're in search of the qualities of being that exist in who we are, in our essence, that divine being that begins life as a spark of pure potentiality and possibility. So we either keep flipping and flopping from one to the other, and we just accept, well, okay, I either lose my family, or I lose myself, I lose my job, or I lose myself, I lose my colleagues, or I lose myself, I lose my husband, my partner, my kids, or I lose myself. It's a very either or, us and them split. Or I have, freedom, or I have security. I have truth, or I have harmony. I have self-expression, or I have peace. It's one or the other. And that's because we have accepted that this is the way things are. We look around us and we shape ourselves. We identify who we are based on not this spark of divine being, but on the fact that we are born in a particular place, in a particular time, in a particular family, religion, culture, all the filters that go with that. And as women, over the years, and it's happening for men now too, but for so long, our value or our worth was based on how we looked, you know, and the incredible amount of money that's been channeled through into the beauty industry and the magazines. You know, you walk into a place that has a whole counter, a whole display of all the magazines, the fashion magazines. If I look at them, I flick through, I go and slash my wrists. I don't look like any of them. I'm never going to be able to fit in those. And that just sublimates bit by bit. It kind of eats away, cuts under your sense of self, always looking and comparing and thinking I don't measure up, either at a conscious level or a subconscious level. And then you might get to the point where you say, well, I don't care. I don't care what anyone thinks. And I'm not going to look like that. I'm not going to spend lots of money on beauty products. I'm not going to shave my legs. I'm not going to get my hair dyed. But sometimes it's still a focus on, I'm not going to conform. So this next step that we're looking at, it's not saying that these are bad, the modern and traditional face. They're just the way of things. We don't have any other options until we have other options. And it's been an inheritance for a very long time, the way the world has acted. We can see the traditional face in systems of, you know, kingdoms of, you know, principalities of domination of capitalism, if you like, and then you see the modern face is communism fights back. Feminism is even against the patriarchy. So there's this swing back and forth. And now we're seeing a big swing back against feminism. Over the last 10 years, that has just built up, but now it's really at a strong fever pitch. So when you're in these two faces of the traditional and modern face, it's a struggle for power in ourselves and in the external world. So we're going to rise above the line. We're going to go up so that we can see more clearly. Before we do, let's do another meditation. And this meditation is, I don't know if you can hear our birds here in the background, but this meditation is the meditation that if we were in a room together, a real live, tangible room, we would be doing all sorts of other activities leading into this. And this is the eternal face meditation. So just put all your phones, devices, everything in silence mode. If you've got people around you, that's okay. Just put your headphones in. And for the next 10 minutes, we're going to go into the world of the eternal face. This meditation uses a familiar metaphor to take you from the physical to the subtle. Remember that the connection with your eternal face is about becoming more aligned to pure, subtle feelings than to an identity that is associated with the body, its roles, or relationships. It's about tuning into your essence. So just sit comfortably and imagine that we're going to visit the house of the self. Relaxing now, allowing your breath to take you inwards, your body to relax, letting go any disturbance, any tension. Resting now, quiet within. Taking a deep breath and exhaling very gently. Now find yourself in your inner world. Standing in front of a beautiful gate and feeling the cool metal of the key in your hand. You look down, you see the key, and you see your feet. Remember that this is your key, your gate, your home. You are in charge. Reaching out, you put the key in the lock and it opens effortlessly. As you step through to the path that leads to the very lovely home, a home that is new to you, one you've not seen before. You become aware of the warmth of the sun on your skin and the gentle breeze caressing your hair. You even hear the sound of your footsteps on the path and feel the texture of the path under your feet. Arriving at the door of the house, you pause. Here you have the opportunity to leave any baggage that might get in the way of this journey. You'll pass by here on the way out, so you can collect it then if you want to. So leave whatever you want to leave right here, right now. And now we start to move towards the place, the space, where you'll find your eternal face. It may be a room inside the house, or it may be a special place in the garden or on the grounds. Don't think about it, just go there now. Wherever you go will be very beautiful, very comfortable, and you will feel totally at home. If by chance you feel something other than lovely and comfortable, you've detoured, you've gone to the wrong place. Simply turn around and go to the right place. Go easily and naturally. Finding yourself there now. Whether you see or sense, either is fine, but allow yourself now to become very, very comfortable. Feel how it feels to be home. The more that you allow yourself to rest in this place, the more you find that you are this place. A perfect fit. Imagine you can simply settle in, nuzzle down, and soak up the atmosphere of this place. Simply sink in and let yourself be at one. In the silence during the next couple of minutes, allow yourself to stay here, enjoying the subtle feelings of this space, this face. Now gently start to gather your awareness, bringing with you to the front door of the house the subtle feelings and energies that you connected with in this place. These are yours to bring with you to the outer world. And as you arrive at the front door, you can gather any baggage that you're not ready to leave behind. And then you make your way up the path. As you walk, feel the light weight of your feet as they gently glide along the path. Reaching the gate, opening easily, stepping through and locking the gate behind you. Knowing that you can return to this place anytime you like. This is your place, your space, your eternal face. When you're ready and in your own time, open your eyes, still holding the energy of your eternal face. So I'd just like to ask you, I'm sure that your mind wandered here and there and that there were distractions all around you maybe. But I have no doubt that almost everyone, because I have checked this all over the world, that almost everyone would have touched that place, if even just for a moment, and would have felt something. So I want you to take a moment and to put into the chat now, what was it that you felt, that you experienced in that moment that you touched this eternal place, space, face? Quietness, freedom, calmness, freshness, peace and happy, safe, peaceful, calmness, present, peaceful, secure, pure, comfortable ease, peace, unity, calm, warm sunshine, relaxing in peace, cozy. Yeah, serenity, serenity twice. Vacation, nice break. Yeah, pure, freedom, peaceful. Yeah, contentment, freedom. The love of my true self, pure feelings. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. Peace and relaxed. And what I want to say to you is that if you weren't able to access, or you got very distracted, or it just didn't happen for you, I can see, and I know from my experience, but even in this room, in this Zoom, there's enough evidence to show that if we can just stop and connect internally, that all of the things that we look for externally through these traditional modern faiths are all here within us. We actually activate everything that we're looking for and we're transacting outside of us. The peace, the security, the freedom, the love, my true self, my authenticity, the serenity, the happiness. Sometimes people, when they do that and they go inwards, they can connect with other feelings, with, perhaps some sadness, or even some traumatic things of the past. And, this is not usual, but it's not unusual, because we go around with lots of sadness and losses inside us that we don't know what to do with, to be honest. So we just push them down. Oops, I lost my microphone. So we push down these feelings and we stop feeling altogether. And sometimes if we do a meditation like this and we relax, and it's like, the top just lifts off, and then I start to feel these feelings I really don't want to feel, and that I pushed away a long time ago. So that can make us stop wanting to do these meditations. But not in this session. The next session, we're going to talk about the 8 powers of this Shakti process, of this awakening powerful self. And these powers help with this process as well, of releasing stored and uncomfortable, sometimes toxic, harmful energies from the past. So hang in there. And the other thing is, what I noticed when I first meditated, and I had this incredible experience, right, of maybe 3 seconds, nothing more than a moment of feeling unbelievably free, right? Like a child running in a field and the sun, and just total freedom. And then I realized, I feel like I couldn't feel my body anymore. I was in this experience, and as soon as I realized that, I sort of went, and grabbed hold, and I was back in my body again, and I'd lost the experience. So I just had to slowly coax myself and telling myself, it's okay. Remember, you're here, you're not going to leave, it's all going to be fine. So meditation is a journey in itself. But to understand meditation, all it is a practice. They call it a practice, right? And it's a practice for being ourselves. We practice connecting inwards to the truth of who we are, to the essence. And when we like being there, like sometimes you have to go through those layers, like I just said, and you've got to go right into this tiny spark. And when you find that and you sit in it, then you go, yeah, this is it. I like feeling like this. I love feeling like this. How can I be in this state more often, more of the time? So it is a practice to reconnect and sit in myself, rest in my own resources of my truth, so that I can come out into the world and be that more often. And it's the greatest tool, not in, I wouldn't say personal development, but in the return journey back to my own empowerment of who I truly am. So great to know that you had that, some of those experiences. Just before we move on, are there any questions about that, about this meditation we just did, or any questions that are outstanding? And then we're going to do another exercise which leads us into Shakti. And Shakti is our fourth face. And if there are no questions, I'm going to share the screen again. And we are going to look at where am I? Yeah. So we've looked at the eternal, the traditional, the modern. And as we just had in that experience, that rather than submitting and conforming or fighting, rebelling and resisting, maybe there's a better way to reclaim security, love, and freedom. And this is Shakti. And some of you already know this word, and for some of you, the word is new. And I want you to just listen, and the translators, if you kind of copy the way in which I'm going to offer this, just close your eyes. Everyone close your eyes for a moment. And I'm going to say the word, and I want you to feel it as it comes in through your ears and it resonates in your body. And I want you to feel it. I'm going to say it 3 times. And just notice what is the energy of it. Shakti. 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 Okay. So open your eyes. And again, if you're happy to put in the chat, what did you feel? Okay, so may power. What did you feel, or what did you sense from letting that word, joyful, power, stability, power, strong freedom warrior, ancestor, powerful energy, beauty, strength, a magic wand with a click of a finger, strength, I can do anything, I can, courage, strength, focused power, thunderstormal natural power, strength, deep strength, happy, courage, yeah, deep connection, newness, great, awakening of my powers, goodness, thank you, Wei Lin, Great. Amazing, isn't it? God's light, centered, untouched. Wow. And so I know someone said that Tamil is one of the oldest languages on the earth in humanity. And this word Shakti is from the Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is very ancient, and very often the words have the sound of what the meaning is, which in English, we would call onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia, onomatopoeic. So you say the word and you can sense it. And, all of this that you're saying, that's it. It has three meanings. And I'm going to give a very kind of a perfunctory or very functional, less poetic, I would say, meaning. But many of you have written there power and strength. So Shakti, in it, the word itself means power, as in energy, right? Not as in domination, just power, energy. And the second word is God's creative energy, so that divine creative force. And then the third one is the divine feminine. So in India, which is the home of Sanskrit, this word Shakti has been adopted to be associated with the archetypes of the goddesses. They're called Shaktis. There's many, many archetypes of the divine feminine, which of course now people worship as something outside of them. But what we know from mythology is that these archetypes were born in the essence of time. They were born out of stories of our own powers, our own truth, this Shakti. And so then they were creating these images of goddesses. And I think next month, for those who would like to, we're going to do a follow-up and go deeper into the goddesses. It won't be as long a program. Maybe it'll be a couple of hours. But we're going to look at these archetypes. Today, we're going to look at the powers that are associated with the goddesses. But just to say, Shakti is these three: God's creative energy, power, and the divine feminine, the goddess. So it's a very beautiful way of entering into this fourth face. And it is the face to recover the truth of who I am. And what's great about it being, in a sense, in this 2x2 matrix, being above the line, is that it's like you get to observe. You get to be above and observe how you're acting. Are you people pleasing? Are you trying to be good all the time to get approval and feel accepted? Are you, manipulating and playing politics so you can get up the ladder and be powerful? And no judgment, right? Shakti is this incredible motherly energy as well. And are you resisting and fighting and struggling? Are you looking for freedom by fighting? Are you struggling with someone else so you can express yourself? Or do you just express yourself? So this face of spiritual power is the observer as well. In the same way that the archetypal mother, no, there's no perfect mother on the planet. We're all in the lineage of our own, parenthood, and we're all doing the best we can. But this archetypal mother doesn't take anything personally from her child, doesn't judge them, sees them in the journey of their evolution. And so when we become the mother of ourselves, when we observe the child within us trying to be the good girl, or this rebellious adolescent that's going, screw you, I'm not doing that, and you acting out like this, we don't judge ourselves and we don't kind of punish ourselves. We understand this great motherly wisdom, and we do the work to understand. This face here is the work, is the face where we start to learn, become more wise, so that we can be more helpful to our own recovery back to this eternal face, the authenticity of who we truly are. And the work that we're going to do now, next, is about courage, because we have to have courage to go on this journey. We must have courage. If we don't have courage, we wouldn't take the next step. But the courage, modern face has a lot of courage, actually. The courage to risk losing everything to find truth. And it can be disheartening in the modern face because it's also exhausting to be fighting all the time. And when you don't get the results, you try harder and harder and you still don't get the results, then it can be very, very disheartening. But the courage not to fight, but the courage to become free. This is the courage we're going to talk about now. And this courage starts to help us to move away from blame and aggression, to being a victim, to having us and them, the bad ones and the good ones. We stop feeling lost or stuck. We lose hope. Hopelessness goes. Self-criticism. We stop making others responsible for us. And we move towards being creators, saying it's my life, my world, our life, our lives, our world. Let's do this. And stop waiting. Us and them becomes us. There's no others who don't believe what you believe. It's just we're one human family. And we have an aim for ourselves and for our life. And there's a sense of purpose, being purposeful, self-belief, self-responsible. So but it requires courage. And I want to show you this model here. And then we're going to do some reflective and sharing work around courage. But this is some work by a doctor in California called Dr. David Hawkins. Some of you may know his work. It's quite old now. I came across it probably 20 years ago, but it still really is a very, very powerful kind of, a very powerful, again, golly. Okay, focus. It's a very clear and powerful tool to work with as we go. So we stop looking at beliefs, we stop looking at others, and we start working with energy. And we start to understand that below the line is where the traditional modern faces. And it's driven a lot by fear and a state of powerlessness and the hunger for power. And he calls his work power versus force. So below the line, where there's suffering and survival, it's where we're forcing everything. We have to plan and manipulate and maneuver to get something and fight for what we want and hold on to. And then above the line, he says, that's where there's power. And power is simply someone wrote here, I can. I have this feeling I can. And that's what power is. This feeling I can live my life. I can. It's not like I can. It's this ease of I can. It's the resources of the soul to live its own life. And so this is above the line. And you can see he was able to measure all these different states of consciousness. And what he says is that where the possibility of transformation comes, where we start to enter into soul energy, to power, is at the realm of courage. That is the portal into the world of power, where we stop fighting and we go into flow, and we connect with our infinite nature, and we're connected to all life, to the divine, to God, to all life, each other. Our intuition is heightened, and we're in the divine mind, we're in the intuitive mind. And so this is the land of Shakti. And today what we're going to do is we're going to look at an experience of connecting with our courage. And then we're going to move into the powers of the Shakti, which we're going to work with until we come back and meet again to look at the Shaktis, the goddesses. So, is everybody with me? Are we all good? We're going to move into the world of courage, and we're going to explore what it means to be courageous. Now, just checking, any comments, any questions so far? No? We've got hearts, we've got angels, we've got thank yous. Okay, let's go then. In 2009, could I show the previous slide again? Yes, I can. I think yeah. Before the frequency. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can do that. Don't quite remember what it was, but I can do it. Ah, yes. Okay. The previous slide. Yeah, here we go. Oops. This one. Yeah. Okay, Susan from Korea. Yes, we're going to talk about courage. Yeah, that's where we're going. What does it mean? Okay, all good. Aldous, great. Okay, so now as we move into the next aspect, I want to share with you, in 2009, I met a woman who we were both speaking at a conference in Miami, and we got to know each other quite a bit. And her area of specialization was, and is, courage. She had done something like 3,000 surveys. She's from the United States, but she had done 3,000 surveys and 450 deep interviews. That's a lot of research. And it was all about, well, she was just working with women. And in the end, what her work became was about courage. And she said that from all her research, what she discovered was that only 11% of women felt or thought they were courageous. Only 11%. And if you go back to the previous slide, it really takes a lot of courage to be ourselves, right? It takes, in a world where we're so conformed, where we've got so many expectations, demands, so it takes a lot of courage, and only 11% think they're courageous. And she said it was really interesting because she would be in these interviews and people would share a story in the interview, and she would say to them, well, that's very courageous. And they'd say, it was all women. And the women, she said, would invariably say exactly the same thing. They would dismiss it and they'd say, oh no, that's not courage. I just did what I had to do. That's not courage. I just did what I had to do. And if I think about my life, I think about my mum, and it's true. We are very good at just navigating through chaos, through crisis, through difficult times. And our intuition will tell us. We listen and we don't give value to that. We don't give value to this power. And as we saw in that chart, it is the power that connects us up to the divine, to all of those soul resources. She ended up calling her work and her book, which was written from all this research, Courage, the Forgotten Feminine Virtue. So I want to take us into a little bit of work on that now. So Sandra Ford Walston said, only 11% think they're courageous. I just did what I knew I had to do, in a very dismissive sort of way. And yet, think about this. If you can do what you know you have to do, that's an extraordinary power. That is a phenomenal power. And it's as if you have this massive bank account full of all the financial resources you'll ever need, but you don't know you have it. You don't even know that it's there. And therefore, you don't consciously know you can access it. And it's the same with courage. Once we know we have it, then we can access it whenever we want to, whenever we need to, in a conscious way, and we can accumulate more and more. Now, courage is different for everyone, right? Sometimes for some people, it takes courage to leave a relationship. Whereas for other people, it takes courage to stay in a relationship. For some people, it takes a lot of courage to be kind to themselves. It takes a lot of courage to let go of being a victim and start to move forward and look for ways in which you can create your own world. For some people, it takes courage to own up to their identity or their sexual orientation. For some people, I put this picture of this girl doing karaoke because when kids, you know, if you're with a group of 5-year-olds and you ask them, well, who can sing? Everybody goes, I can sing, I can sing. Who can dance? I can dance. But if I asked any of you now if you could sing on this, you would be disinclined to do it because you'd feel judged. So courage is really different for everyone. Some people, it's easy to talk in front of others. For others, it's like the most painful thing. For me, if I go back 30 years, I couldn't speak more than 2 minutes in front of other people. I was sweating, my heart was palpitating, my brain stopped working. I had no idea, and I was terrified. So courage is very different for each and every one of us. And for some of us, little things take enormous courage. And for others looking at it, they'd say, wow, you know, that's not such a difficult thing. Or they'd look at something you find easy and say, how can you possibly do that? I could never do it. So courage is a very, very different thing for each and every one of us. And when we come back here, we see that it's at this point here where we start to move upwards into a life of ease. So now we're going to look at your stories of courage. What are your stories? Because if you know you have this power, then you can use it. When you're starting to feel weak, or you've got an internal dialogue that says, I can't do this, or you start to blame, then you just go, girl, come on, where's your courage? And what's really important to know here is that the word courage comes from the Latin, which means cur, and cur means heart. So when you come back to your own heart and you listen to what your heart is telling you, then you connect to all that power above. And there's a saying in the Brahma Kumaris, I know this saying very well, but I've heard it in many other traditions, religious, spiritual traditions, that says, if you take one step of courage, so if you listen to your own heart and you act in alignment with that, then God takes 1,000 steps to help. So it means like you have entered the realm of incredible divine support. And we can do that. So this is where we're going to go into an experience now. This looks a little bit complicated. And in fact, I'm going to stop sharing in a minute. Now, in fact, I'm going to stop sharing now. It's a little bit complicated. We're going to pop you into the breakout rooms again. And we're going to invite you to share your stories of courage, but you don't have to invent them now. I'm going to talk you through a little reflection. And in that reflection, you're going to discover a story to share. And what you'll do is that you'll have either one other or two in the room with you, and you'll have 7 minutes to share your story. No one will enter into conversation. It's not a conversation. It's you giving voice, discovering your courage. And you tell the story of how you entered into this situation and you activated your courage. And when you see yourself, who you were being in that situation, what were the qualities, you can sort of retell the story. And the person who's listening, or the people, if there's 2 in your room, they will simply witness you. They will listen with full presence as you tell your story, fully present. No questions or, well, what happened then? Or nothing like, oh, I know that happened to me too. No, nothing like that. And absolutely 100% no advice, right? No one needs advice. This is about each one being able to tell their story, a story, to reconnect with this power of courage that we all have. We could not have lived the lives we've lived in the world we live in at this time to get to the age that we're at unless we have accessed massive amounts of courage. And this is about you remembering that. So how this will work is I will just do a brief reflection in a couple of minutes here with everyone. And then we're going to put you into the breakout rooms in groups of 2 or 3. And this bit's a little important, so please listen. And maybe you want to make a note. When you get into the breakout room, don't start chatting. This is a very sacred space. And if we're in a room together, not a Zoom room, but in a real room together, I'd be able to help and hold the space and guide and make sure that it was sacred. But I won't be in the rooms with you, so you have to do that work. And you can, of course you can. Might be a little uncomfortable at first to just be quiet and, you know, be with each other in a more quiet way. But don't chat. Just decide very easily who will tell their story first and who will listen first. And then just take a moment, say hello and introduce yourselves by name. No more than that, just your name, where you're from. No extra detail. We're just going, I am. And then take a moment, take a breath, and hand over to the person who will tell their story. Now, what I want you to do is that someone has their phone with them and does a timer, set a timer for 6 minutes and start the timer when the person's telling their story. So then after 6 minutes, the timer goes off and you know you have 1 minute just to close up. And you finish your story and you just go back into silence, everyone. You say thank you. And then you change roles. Actually, no. Before you change roles, you tell the other person what were the qualities you recognized in them as they told their story. Just the qualities, you know, they were obviously strong, they were generous, they were loving, they were powerful, they were insightful, they were organized, whatever the qualities that you noticed, you just do that. Don't go into telling more story. So I'm going to recap. Set your timer for 6 minutes. Start the timer as the first person tells their story. When the 6 minutes finishes, then you have 1 minute to finish up. Finish, and then take a moment, breathe, and then those who are listening will just share the qualities of who they saw you as in that story. That won't take more than a minute, right? No more than a minute. Then you close that, and then the next person will tell their story. You set the timer and you repeat the process. It's like that. So you're going to have about 25 minutes, 20, 25 minutes. And we'll tell you when you've got 5 minutes or say 10 minutes to go. We'll send a message, a broadcast message into the room when there's 10 minutes to go. So I hope that's okay. The main thing is you listen to each other. Everyone gets a chance to share and you reflect back to each other and know that it's not a conversation. So you hold a sacred space. That's it. So so strange not to be able to see your faces and get some feedback that everybody's understood, but it'll work out. So let's, as we prepare, just before we send you into the rooms, I'm going to take you into a reflection. And that reflection is to help you find a story. So you can close your eyes. And as you relax, but not too much, it's starting to get to that dozy time of the afternoon or evening. So sit up straight, but comfortable. And take a nice deep breath. And as you continue to breathe, I want you to imagine that you're sitting in a cinema, and it's a small private viewing room, like a home cinema, but with a nice big screen. And on the screen, you can see that the countdown begins, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on the screen is excerpts from your life. And you see yourself as a baby. And your parents or grandparents or siblings, your brothers and sisters are around. However was your life. And you start to grow. You see other excerpts from when you were just a tiny one, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. Going to school for the first time. Some of us were excited and some of us were not. And what it meant to be at school and making friends and learning new things, different subjects. And then as you grew and you went from being a little one to being older in the school, and you started to become aware of what you were better at, what you were good at, and what you weren't so good at. And there were things to do with sport and play and family. And then you were in high school. And different scenes come on the screen from being in high school, in times of puberty, when you started to become a woman, which is crazy when you're just 11, 12, 13, 14. And different relationships and studies and expectations and pressures and all of those things. But fun too, different moments. And then when you left school, maybe you went to study, maybe you traveled, maybe you worked, maybe you got married, maybe you haven't done anything yet, you're still there. And now let the screen just roll through from that time through your 20s and onwards, with work and study and families, choices that you've made, and some detachment watching it from the comfort of your armchair. And now just let the screen stop on a particular scene. A scene where you were really present and using your courage. It could have been a challenging scene. It could have been sad. Could have been loss. It could have been something creative that you wanted to do. It could have been speaking up It could have been making a stand. What is that scene that's there on the screen now? And you see yourself. And I want you to see the best of you in this scene. Not where you may have faltered or been fragile. I want you to see the courage. See who you were being. And what was happening in that scene? Who were you with? What was the challenge? How did you get through? And now, just holding on to that, bringing yourself back and opening your eyes. We're going to send you into your rooms now. And I think we can do just 2 in each room, which is great. That's perfect. Just 2 in each room. And stay, don't go. Have the courage to stay. It's very beautiful and powerful, this particular thing. We've lost another kind of 15 people as we go into this space. I want you to have that courage to go in and uncover your courage. So if we can put everyone into the room now, and just remember, the main thing is share and witness the other person as you go. Yeah. And you'll have almost 20 minutes to do this, yeah? So enjoy. Okay, great. Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, so what I'd like you to do now, let's have a look at what you discovered in terms of your qualities and the qualities of the other person. Yeah, sorry that's why I said set your timer, because it's very easy to just get caught in sharing and not have enough time. There is enough time, but you have to set the timer. And unfortunately, this happens sometimes, Weilin. Please, can you write in the chat now, what were the qualities that you saw in the other person? What did you see? What did you see in the other person? What qualities? And what qualities did they see in you? So let's write them down now in the chat. What kind of nuance of our courage showed up? Independent, confident, humility, courage and calmness, benevolent and joy, self-care, kindness, self-respect, naturalism and flow, the power to let go of everything, leaving all behind, calmness, pure, curious. I think this is going to say confidence, strength, passion, confident to go with flow and love for family, determination, taking control, confidence, very graceful, calm and gentle about using their courage. Power to choose for yourself. Despite the pain, have the courage to continue. Big heart, huge faith in God, determination, obedience, joy, open, scared but did it anyway, despite the fear. Self-respect, standing strong amidst adversity, calm, courageous, wisdom, honesty, generosity, let go, and the power to face. She is so confident and encouraging. Kindness, good listener, patient, understanding, happy. Braveness, unity, patience, acceptance, independent, power to face, positive, strong, trust, open-minded. Tolerance, inner strength, determination, confident, empower, graceful, happiness forever, understanding, motherly love and courage, confidence, courage, strong, calming. This is it. We have it. I want you all to just spontaneity, mature, determined and positive, being cool. I wonder if that's like cool or that's like cool. Could be both. Great. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for staying and going, trusting the process, going into the rooms. I know that sometimes it's just, you don't want to do it, but it takes courage also. So I want you to just close your eyes for a moment and to really feel in the energy of your being. So you'll feel it in your body, but you'll feel it in your aura, like your energy field that even goes outside of your skin. To just feel the energy and feel what it's like when you're able to be in touch with this power within. Just allow that to really be with you. And just allow that to expand even more, like a big bubble of colorful, powerful courage. And remember, you take one step of courage and the heavens open. God takes 1,000 steps. So feel that perhaps there's this great cascade of power that's coming from above, from these divine echelons, these realms of divinity. And it's filling, and then it flows, like the bubble flows outward into the future, along the road of your life, the path that you will take, and your courage goes out there and it embeds itself into the road that will meet your feet as you arrive into the future. It's there waiting for you in every moment that you need it. And you will recognize its vibration. When you meet struggle, or you meet self-criticism, or you meet any challenge where you want to blame someone or be a victim, or it feels too much, stop and just remember, I have the courage to return, and you access that, you feel that, you open to the heavens and you feel it at your feet, and you feel your heart knows, it will know what it needs to do. And you start to flow with life. And there are obstacles, but they're not hard anymore. They're more like a game. And just breathing in, bringing your awareness back to now, and seeing or sensing in front of you this river of goodness, this river of your courage, of power. And feel yourself back here, now, in your bubble of courage. And it belongs to you. It is your power, and it is the power to return to I am, the eternal face. And if you haven't already, you could open your eyes. Good. So, let me ask you, how are we going? How are we going in this very compact, intensive, exploring how we return back to the deepest longing within ourselves? Great. Okay. Are there any questions at this point? Because I want to, before we close, I want to take you to explore, some of you know very well, the 8 powers. And I want to get you to start to play with them, use them. The 8 powers is a very, very practical tools in your life. And I've been having a little debate with the Malaysian team that's organized all of this, because I want to do something as a follow-up to today. And they said, yeah, but we're coming into Chinese New Year and it gets very busy. And so we have to postpone till after Chinese New Year. I said, no. It's like, for me, Christmas time is really busy, right? But the thing is, our lives are very intense. The world is incredibly intense these days. And we need all the power that we can get. We need all the clarity, stability, serenity, and centeredness that we can get to live and enjoy Chinese New Year. Get the most of being with family and friends. Be as powerful and as authentic. Use it as your laboratory. So I'm going to, over the next 9 days, tomorrow I will send you a meditation that is about connecting to the source of the powers. I'm going to do this by WhatsApp. Every day for the next 9 days, I will send you something. And I will send you a meditation. They're all very short. So tomorrow's is about 9 minutes. And then every day after that, for 8 days, I will send you a 3-minute only, 3-minute meditation, which is very poetic, actually. And it works with all the colors of the powers and the poetry of them as well. And I'm going to send you one per day so that you can keep the momentum of today. It's not just another workshop. They say, you know, that if you don't take from a workshop or a course and apply it, something, doesn't have to be big, in fact, better if it's tiny, and you apply it within 24 hours, if you don't do that, then nothing changes. You just go back to how it was before. Nothing changes. Now, I'm going to be giving in English only. I'm sorry we haven't had the opportunity to translate the meditations. So it will just be in English, but I will send also the 3-minute meditations and a kind of practice and an image of the powers. And the practice might be a mantra, like an affirmation that you could say to yourself throughout the day, or you might write it on a post-it note and stick it on your computer, or you might put it as a screensaver, you know, the image as the wallpaper on your mobile or your cell phone. And this is a way of, even when you're going about your day and you're not focused on doing the work, then you're still speaking into your subconscious. We're always feeding into our subconscious through billboards, through television, through computer screens, magazines. It's always speaking. So let's put good things that speak into our subconscious, things we want to speak in there. So I'm now going to go through the 8 powers very briefly as we come to a close, but this is by way of introducing them to you. And then over the next 9 days, you're going to get to play with them in your life. And there'll be very fun type things and easy things to play with them. Now, before I take you through them, I want to ask you to write down a question, or maybe it's an issue that you have at the moment. It might be, I just struggle, I don't have enough time in my life, or I keep coming up against the same problems in relationships, or, you know, I can't make my kids do what I want them to do, or I'm bored in my job, or etc., etc. Something that's really with you at the moment, that's, you know, hanging around and is like a burden. And I want you to write it down. It doesn't have to be mega, it can be a small thing. And I'm going to, so write it down. Okay, good. Should have that by now. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through the 8 powers. And as I take you through the 8 powers, I'm going to ask you to just keep in mind this question or issue, or conflict, or whatever it is, or disturbance. And I just want you to hold it there. You don't have to do anything with it yet, because over the next 9 days, these powers are going to somehow reveal themselves to you. You're going to get your answer. So what I want you to do also is before, like in the next 24 hours, take what you've written and shape it into a question. So you might say, oh, my relationship is full of conflict. That's your issue. So you might then ask a question, which is, how can I be in good relationship with others? How can I bring change to my relationships? You know, so you ask a question, because when you ask a question, your intellect goes looking for the answer. If you just say my relationship stinks or my relationship is awful, then that's the end. That's just victim. I am powerless in this. Got nothing. And there's no curiosity, there's no investigation, there's no inquiry. It's just neural pathways in the brain don't go anywhere. They don't go searching for answers. So you're going to have to do the work of creating an open, curious question about your issue. So let's have a look at these powers. There we are. Okay, so there we go. So these are images that I use for the 8 powers. Now I want you to have a look at these images. If you tune into your question or your issue or whatever it is you wrote down, and just have a look at these images and colors and notice which one is attracting you. Which is the one, and you maybe are drawn between 2 of them. That's okay too, but I'm going to ask you to land on one for the moment. Just choose one. You're going to have 5 seconds to choose it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now you've chosen your image. Just put in the chat which was the image you chose. Just write in the chat. What image did you choose? Okay, magnifying glass, the green, fire, the river, the compass, the tree, the balloon, the earth, the tree, the fire. Number 1, the earth, the tree, the fire, the balloon, the earth, the planet, the beehive. We got 1 beehive in there. The earth, balloon, the river, the earth. Okay, good. So all different ones. Only one that I could, the clock. Okay, so that's, looks like a clock, but it's a compass. Arti, it's a compass, looking like a clock. The river. Oops, okay, I don't know, I've just lost there. Come back. Okay, great. Yeah, compass, Arti, that's right. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through a little bit these powers, and you may not get your answer immediately to your question or your issue, but over the week that comes, you'll get the meditation that goes with it, and you'll get the practice. But you'll also be able to do a little bit of work today and tomorrow to think, oh, how is this responding to my question? So if you're ready, let's go. And these powers are very practical. They help us, like in the the Shakti. So the Shakti is being able to observe ourselves when we start to comply and conform and fit in, and we don't use our own voice, and we sort of sublimate ourselves, or when we start to fight, and the Shakti just sees all that without judging. But we use powers to recover ourselves from when we start to just go in those old patterns. And these powers are helpful. And we increase them by, first of all, being aware that we have them. They're our property, our soul property. And we practice using them regularly. And just as when you go to the gym, the more you practice using something, the better you get at using it. And by reflecting on them, so meditating on them, enhancing them through meditation, connecting to that source and downloading big power. So let's have a look. What are they? I'm bringing them up here. So the earth, for those of you who chose the earth, it's the power to withdraw. And this is the Shakti. This is the number one power of the Shakti, to step back from being involved and thinking I am, you know, the limitations of my identity, my age, my color, my shape, my height, my size, my education, my socioeconomic status, my marital status, my my job, I think I'm all those things, where I live, what house I have, what car I have. I step back from all of that. Oh, I let it go. And in the same way, like the astronaut looked from the earth, looked out, I looked from the space, looked down at the earth, could see everything so differently. And they said, wow, there's no borders. From space you look and you just see this incredible, beautiful thing called Earth. So the power to withdraw is to step back, detach from the role, the situation, and you get perspective. And the best way to do this is, we've heard our parents say it, but especially our mums, take a deep breath and count to 10, right? Take a deep breath and count to 10 before you act. And what that does is it helps us kind of bring our emotional world back under control as well, and we can step back. So remember to breathe. To withdraw, we also have to breathe. Often when we're emotional or we're hooked in, caught up, triggered, we're not breathing very well. Okay. So this is the first power of the Shakti, withdraw. The second one, the power to let go. And this is about being able to free ourselves from the chains of the past. When a situation happens and at the time, you don't say what you should say, you get tongue-tied, or you blurt things out, or you go away later and you just go over and over and over and over for days sometimes in your mind, what you should have said, what you should have done, how you should have, or you resent something, or you want to get revenge, or it's not fair, and you blame. And this is about the land of beliefs, what we believe from our past as well. And it's when we become this Shakti, we start to ask ourselves, when you see and you observe your own thoughts, and you say, wow, is that serving me? Is that true? Is that really, really true? And you start to challenge and you let it go. And you say, you know what? I'm sending you on your way. This belief doesn't serve me anymore. Whether it's, I'm not good enough, or I can't do that, I'm just a girl, or I didn't study, I don't know, I'm not as good as them, or I'll never be able to. Any thoughts that do not serve me and support me, I let them go. And this is a good visual. You can imagine putting them in a balloon, tying it off, helium balloon, and letting it go up to the sun. Gone. And this is about drawing a line as well between here and the past. So the power to tolerate. And there's the image of the tree, which, you know, is about being in a storm and the wind, and it moves with it, but it doesn't break. And the power to tolerate is not about becoming a doormat, right? These powers, by the way, these powers can be, not only can be, are co-opted by the traditional and modern face. So in the traditional face, the power to tolerate is like being a doormat where you let everyone walk over you. You put up with everyone. It doesn't matter. They're more important than me. I'm nothing. And so all of these powers, the power to withdraw can be like cut off and be cold, like the power to, in the modern face, I cut off. It can be excluding people. So there are certain energies which we then use either below the line with the modern and the traditional face, or we use them from the Shakti. And so the power to tolerate is to go beyond the need to react, and I rise above and I can seek to understand what is happening with my own self, my own emotions, and that with others. So I can see, you know, it's the archetype here is the mother, because how many times I used to, when I fought with my mother, I don't know how she kept loving me, because I was just a terror. I was horrible. But not to take things personally, which is such a big power and a big practice. Someone might be treating me badly, but it is their stuff. I don't have to take it on. I do not have to allow it in. That's why we have this bubble of protection, of power around us, and we connect. The Shakti is also the kind of emissary of light from the divine. And the power to accept. This is about being able to stop living with this idea that things should be different, that it shouldn't be like this. And this is really interesting because acceptance is a very big power, very, very big power. However, it is not resignation. It's not giving up. It's not going, oh, well, things are like this. I'm like this. It's not that. It is the power to say, this is what is happening. This is what I'm feeling. This is where I'm at. This is the world we're living in. Okay. Accept, don't fight. And now what? So I neither give into it, nor do I reject it. But I accept this is what it is. And then I ask myself the question, okay, now what? Then my intellect starts to work. If this is what is, I'm not going to fight it, but what is it I'd really love? How do I want it really to be? Now what? Which brings us to our next power, which is the power to discern. And the power to discern is about being able to see what's really going on, to assess what is true from what is false. And so if I accept what is, and then I ask, now what? And by asking what now, then my intellect starts to discern possible avenues. And it's looking, what is going to be the best next step the best choice, the best way forward. This is the power to discern. And it is a power that is, excuse me, it is a power that is a really beautiful balance between the left and right hemisphere of the brain, the intuitive and the rational, or not rational, reasoning self. And, and it's also a balance between the masculine and the feminine. So it's a really interesting power, but it is strong in intuition and that interconnectedness with, with all that is. And it's seeing through the third eye. You know, you see from above, not in the middle of everything. And once you've seen and you see clearly, then you decide. You judge which is the best, which one am I going to take? And you make the decision. It's the power to take action. It's the power to commit and to follow the course you know is right. And of course, each of these require courage. Each and every single one of them require courage. And the power to decide is when I start to stand for myself. I back myself. I support myself. The power to decide. And once I decide and I move into action, into what will be a new path, even if it doesn't look new on the outside, I might be in exactly the same situation. But once I take a new decision, it moves the energy of everything. I might decide I'm no longer going to allow anyone to treat me this way. I am now going to look only at appreciating, not criticizing. And once you do that, you have to face things. You have to face the fact that all the people who used to criticize with you, all your gossip crowd, are not going to like you anymore. They're going to try and bring you back in. But you're going to have to face your own desire to belong, your own habit of criticizing, and you're going to have to face that. And this is the power to jump through that ring of fire and say, I can do, I can be. And I have the capacity to handle whatever happens, inside, outside. This is the power to face. And when we work with the Shaktis, with the goddesses, in the follow-up to this, this is where we start to embody and become these higher archetypes of Shaktis. And they're a lot of fun to work with. And they really, you see it starting to make a difference. And as you face things, as you've taken new decisions and you've discerned a new path forward, you're no longer fighting the old thing, and you can deal with anything that goes on, and you've put a line in the sand, you've stepped back. Then what you do is you start to cooperate, not just with others. What I really love is you start to cooperate with the drama of life, your destiny, the circumstances, the serendipitous occurrences, the coincidences that happen, because you have moved the energy of your life to a higher ground. You're starting to work now from this Shakti and this eternal face, coming back home to yourself, and life will move to work with you. You start to transform your world from the inside out, and you're bringing newness just by resonating with different energies inside. So these are the 8 powers of the Shakti, and they really are powers. They're tools, and you can practice them in small ways. And every day over the next 8 days, or tomorrow is just an overall meditation, and starting Monday, you will receive, first of all, the power to withdraw, the meditation and the practice. And I'll send the practice, the translators will get the practice ahead of time. You'll get them today, tomorrow morning, so you can translate into the language. It's just a short paragraph. The meditation will be a little bit more difficult, I think. And you'll be able to work with the colors. I worked with a color therapist 25 years ago, and I put different colors, which are just frequencies, right? Color is frequency, vibration, wave pattern. And she went into meditation with each of these powers, which she used anyway. And she came back with the color that was going to work, or not work, that the color that vibrated with that frequency. So you can work with the colors as well. They will activate the powers. So there are a number of ways that you can practice with them. If you know you're going to go into a meeting, for example, which is going to be, you need to get some outcomes. Maybe you put yellow, this golden color of decision making or discernment. You put the green. You imagine putting green in the meeting, in a bubble. Everyone's in a bubble of green. And you go, okay, discernment's present. Or if you're going to have to, hold your ground and have the power to face, you bring in the color of red, this fire. So there are different ways to play with them. And that's what we're going to do over the next 9 days. And I want to warn you, if you do this, you will catalyze a river of transformational energy. It will move you. You will move you. So if you're ready for that, if you want to have this be more than just a workshop, you want it to be something that works with you, for you, and through you, then welcome. This is us starting to build a whole kind of circle, army of Shaktis. So great, Anik from Holland. Great, you're ready. So that brings us to the close of the 8 powers. I've noticed that, Bharti, you want to ask a question, please do. Can you put your camera on and unmute? Okay, you need to unmute. No, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon from India.
Hello.
It's a beautiful session. And I also teach meditation. So it's so wonderful today. I'm feeling, I'm in trance. Actually, I was missing that peace and the connection which you gave me already. I'm so thankful and accept my gratitude for that. If you can kindly explain that discern, I could not follow that actually.
Okay.
So I would really like to hear again about that point.
Thanks, Bharti. And I'm sure if you didn't catch it, there'll be others who didn't catch either.
Yes.
Discern is possibly the most important. Some people say it's the most important, because if you can't see clearly, then you can't take any step, right? Whether that's with your thoughts, with your heart, or in your world of action. So the power to discern is a really beautiful balance that comes from, it's a power you have, but it's a balance between an intuitive power, so a catching from beyond, and reasoning. And you don't have to think in separate things, but it's this blend that emerges. And so you start to practice guessing, like intuiting things
Yes.
in a very simple way. You know, you might go for a walk and you say, okay, will I go left or right? And you don't know, it's a game. And you go, oh, I'm feeling I go left. Okay, I go left. Doesn't matter. So you just start practicing like that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but over the next 8 days, and you'll get a meditation on the power to discern. And in fact, from India, you know very well, the goddess that we work with the power to discern is Gayatri.
Yes.
Yeah, so, you know, that becomes really beautiful and powerful too. So thank you, Bharti, for asking the question. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now, the difference between the power to face and the power to accept. Oh, okay, I want to go back. Very different. The power to face, the power to accept is just to say, this is what is. It is what is. It shouldn't be anything else. It's not, I'm not complaining. I'm not bemoaning. I'm not wishing it was different. I just say, this is what it is. I don't label it. I don't say it's boring or it's wrong or I wish, whoops, come back, or I wish it wasn't, etc., etc. I don't do any of that. I just accept this is what is. And when I accept, I'm no longer entangled with my own unmet desires. I just step back. I've gone, oh, it is what it is. And that's when I can start to see clearly. Now, the power to face is when there's something happening that I would be afraid of. It could be my own emotions. It could be even my dream. I might have ignored and denied my dream that's been with me since I was born, my sense of destiny and purpose. And I felt too small, or I've had someone in my life who I gave authority to telling me, you can't do that. Who do you think you are? Absolutely not. And I've believed them. And now, as I start to do this work of listening to my own inner world and I give it value, maybe I start to remember my dream or remember why I'm here. And I have to face my fear and those old beliefs. And I have to know that I have the courage, because we know we do, and I can handle whatever happens, whatever I have to face. You know, there's some research that says there are only 5 fears in life, 5 things we're afraid of. Really, I can't remember what they are. I'm sorry. I can research them. But it says that underneath those 5 fears, there's only 1 fear. And so I kind of go to that one. The one fear is I won't be able to handle it, whatever that it is. I won't be able to handle it. And it's not true, because we've all had to face many things we thought we couldn't handle. And here we are. And we have, to some extent or another. Maybe we could look back and say we could have done it differently. And that's the learning, and so on. So I'm going to close here now. I know there's some questions, and I know, Dimple, you're going to facilitate some little bit question time. We did say we would finish at 6. So, and that'll be other times for others. So we have gone over by 11 minutes. If you have to go now and you have, you know, given your WhatsApp or whatever you needed to do if you want to, then please do have a beautiful night. If you can stay for a few minutes longer, we will look at a couple more questions, and we'll just maybe take another 8 or 10 minutes, and then we'll close and let you head off into your evening. Vielen Dank. Thank you, Anike.
Beautiful, beautiful, sister. It is just mind blowing how you put it together. And yeah, the floor is open for questions. If anyone has questions, can type it. And I would like to take this opportunity to, while the questions are coming in, to do a little takeaways that I took from your program. Some things I want to ask you again. And I like the first line when you opened up by saying that we women are the leaders of today. It is today at your present moment, and it's about you. It was so beautiful, beautifully said. And even the point that only 11% of women are courageous or feel
Think they are
courageous.
courageous.
If
Think
they're
they are.
courageous, that they think they are. That number is so low. And I think
Yeah.
we have a big task to bring that up. And I just did. And I like that line when you said, I just did what I knew I had to do. Sometimes I've come to that situation so many times in my life, like you just know you got to do it. You just got to do it and you find the way.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's like just, and magic happens after that.
Yeah.
And, you know, and also that line when you mentioned that courage is different for everyone. Wow. I was like, yes, it's so true. And
Yeah.
so many takeaways. My list will go endless. And I think I'll stop there because there's still so much more to take away. But questions, are there any questions? Actually, there was a question in between. Let me ask you that question. I don't know if I feel we answered that question, but it was repeated twice by two people. Felicia and Odus. I think Odus, I think this question is answered, but I'll just ask it anyway, since it was repeated twice. When the benevolence is not felt by the self, other things kick in as it starts looking for something like in return or response, etc. So from others or from the environment. What would you have to say to that, sister? I think the powers answered it, but you may want to elaborate.
I think that one thing that's so important, this word benevolence is a kind of oldie worldy word, but it's very beautiful to be benevolent to myself. And I think as women, we're often very, very harsh, judgmental, critical. And we live in this world that is about overachieving, that we're never enough. Doesn't matter how much we achieve, how much we do, it's not enough because we're trying to satisfy the external world. Our parents, lovely though they are, or challenging though they are, the best that they did the best they could, given their own resources. But we're always trying to satisfy expectations of others. But really, in the end, what we want is a sort of deep contentment of our own inner being, the freedom to be ourselves, right? And so I think when we're harsh with ourselves, we're not good enough, we didn't get enough, we didn't perform well enough, I'm not, slim enough or young enough or free enough or clever enough, or, this has to finish. We are our own worst enemies, and we are really enemies of other women. I think we have to finish being our own enemy, and we have to be generous with other women, celebrate each other. Don't be jealous. Jealousy is the patriarchy's way of continuing to control women. Jealousy between women is the patriarchy's way of continuing to control not just women, but the world. The best way to overcome patriarchy is to love each other, celebrate each other, and know there's enough to go around for everyone. And promote each other, put each other forward, but put ourselves first in being kind That is the fastest way to transform, is to be kind to ourselves, benevolent to ourselves.
Beautiful, sister. That leads me to another question. Is it thinking about yourself? Some might say that if I have to put myself first, would it be considered selfish? I don't think so, but you may want to share something about that.
What if we called it healthily selfish? Because if I'm not good for me, and I'm not good for anyone. I'm not good for the people I love. I'm reactive. I get angry. I get sad. I get depressed. I blame. I manipulate. If I'm not good for me, if I don't feel good in me, then I'm not going to be good for anyone or anything. I'm not going to be the best I can be in my job or my work. So it just doesn't make sense not to check in and go, how am I doing? I need to create time for me so that I'm my best. I can be my best for my life and for the people I love in my life and for the things I love to do.
That's so true, sister. I just, sometimes I have to, admit that sometimes when certain situations come in my life, I just have to say it. Let me be me.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful when I just say that, let me be me, and it feels so powerful. And it's like, does it matter? It's really nice. And I liked, Michelle shared something. This is not a question, it's a statement. She said she's surprised.
One sec. There's no Chinese translation again, just to say.
All right.
Helen. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Am I
No,
good
it's
to
okay.
go?
I don't know, the translator have left. No,
Oh,
because it's
translators
past the
have
time,
left the building. Okay, sorry.
Okay, I think they'll just have to manage with what we have. I'll take this as, I'm not sure if there's another question. Let
There
me
is.
see.
There's
Yeah.
two questions. There's
Okay.
one that I want to respond to.
Yeah, sure, sister.
Choi, M.H. Choi,
Okay.
was talking about how do we use the 8 powers to overcome sudden life tragedies, like the loss of a dear one in an accident. So someone who was just 34 years old, just completed their master's degree, got promoted, and then gone, heartbreaking. I think that this is one of the hardest things, isn't it? To see a life taken. And I think I need it anyway. When I lost the man I was in love with, we were together for 5 months. He was diagnosed with cancer. He died 5 months later. And you need a bigger picture. I did anyway, and I got it. This sort of overarching soul story. And I felt that we came together to complete. He was only 43, and we completed in the best possible way his life. And we went from the life that I was leading before that, which was not a very inspiring life, I would say, all those things I shared with you, to living the life I live today, which gave meaning and purpose. So I think that tragedies are tragedies. I've come to say, well, I don't know the story of that soul's journey. And while that particular life has been cut short and I miss them terribly, but I can also know that their life carries on, and they take with them all of the goodness that they accumulate. And wherever they're to next, I believe in reincarnation, but this sense that the soul carries on. So there's never death. We live in a world where we think people die. COVID is like, people are so afraid of dying. We don't ever die. And meditation, that's what happened when Michael and I, when he was diagnosed with cancer, my husband, my beloved, we went and learned meditation. And from that, really had the experience of so much subtle communication between us while he was sick and after he passed away. Because no one ever dies, and we're so much more than just our bodies. And meditation helps us connect with that clarity, connect with those feelings, and even connect with those souls, not to pull them back, but to feel that we're always one, we're always connected with each other. So I'm so sorry for your loss, Choi. I really feel that for you. And it feels like their life is cut short, but there's never a loss in that. Whatever you accumulate today, you take into tomorrow. Whatever you accumulate in this life in terms of your own accomplishments, that makes you who you've become, and you carry that with you too. You also carry your negative karma, but let's finish on a very beautiful, positive note. Let's do that. Thank you for that
Beautiful.
question. And I wish you the best. And the powers definitely help, but you have to have kind of awakened them, which we're going to work with over the next 8 days. Yeah.
Beautiful, sister. I think nobody could have answered that question so beautifully, and it was so timely looking at the current situation of today. You have been through years back. And there's one more question I would like to take finally, because this person said that I think we can only take one question. This question was typed at a certain time before in the
Yeah.
program. She said, can you give some suggestions about how, I think that's going to be covered in your 8 days, about 4 phases, how help
Poor,
can
suppressed,
help women who
uneducated,
are poor,
misused.
suppressed, uneducated, misused, etc.
Thank you, Lalita, for that question. And I did see it before, so I wouldn't have finished without, responding to it. But my response, I don't think is going to be so satisfying for you. It is a powerful model, there is no doubt. Very often what happens when people see something, I go, oh, I've got to go and save these other people. And I would say the best way to know the answer to your question is for you to work with it. You to work with the 8 powers, you to work with the 4 faces, start to bring it into your life, start to write about it, start to observe yourself, start to see how you can activate it in yourself and in your world. And it will become clear. You will discern, you will decide, you will take action, you will cooperate with others. This is what will happen. This is your question. You will find your answer during your work with it. I think that's my best answer to you, because it's not a theory that you can ever trot out with anyone. And I know you're not saying that, but it will come by your living it 100%. Yeah.
So true, sister. Before we lead into the, you're supposed to do a closing meditation, but before that, I would just like to make the closing comments since you're already running out of time.
Yeah.
There is a Inner Space contact number that flashes, that has been coming on the screen. Sister May has been typing it. Maybe she can put it up again, 016-603-8205. I'll repeat the number, 016-603-8205, and Sister May will put it on the screen as well. Now this number is to be saved, and type a message, respond to us, and save this number, because they are going to be receiving messages from this number. So far we have been, Sister May has been kind enough to be sending individually, but to make it faster and speeden up the process, if they save the number, it would be easier. We could just create one broadcast group and send everybody the numbers. Sending numbers or receiving numbers from this number would ensure their privacy. Their numbers are not shared by anybody else. It is only by this number and this number only. we also have, we would also be creating a WhatsApp group for further communication and forming a community of women, which would be easier, that they could also leave us questions and there could be a group of people working rather than one person holding the responsibility. We will be sending the link of this WhatsApp in this number once they have saved it, and it is their choice if they want to join in. Then we would have further programs of 4 phases follow-up, and also the inner space, the contact number would also be giving them further programs held by Meditation Cafe. And with that, sister, I think I've made most of my comments. And if you have more questions, you could always send it to the number, and Sister Caroline Ward will be with us. And I'm so glad. And we will definitely forward your questions to her, and she will be available to us. Right, sister?
After that, I have to say yes, with all my heart. Yeah. Thanks
you
so much,
sister.
Dimple.
Thank you so
much.
much. It really, really means a lot. And we would definitely be in touch. And I would like you to lead to the closing meditation. Thank you.
Okay. I want to say, first of all, thank you to, this is amazing. 4 hours on Zoom, and we all co-created this space. I've been doing most of the talking, but the energy that has been created here is one, as everybody's saying, the team, the Meditation Cafe team is incredible. They're so organized, they're so caring, they're so capable, and really thank you all so much for making this possible. And to all of you, because you stayed and held this space and probably faced your own courage, activated it to be really present. So I want to say and honor all of you, each and every one across the world. Thank you very much. Let's just take a moment and connect in to our own hearts, where this courage is activated. And I want to invite you to imagine this thread, this beautiful golden, more than a thread, it's like a river, a golden river of light that goes from heart to heart of everyone in this circle. This extraordinary river of connection, of pure love, pure goodness, pure power. Feel your heart expand, open your chest, even put your shoulders back. And then allow this divine, powerful cascade of golden love, light, and purity from those divine realms, from the source, just pour down into this circle and into our hearts, empowering this Shakti within each of us. And let that move outward to waken up the Shakti in women all over the world, in your countries, and the countries all over the world. And as you feel your own heart and feel yourself connected, bring your awareness back into this moment in time, interconnected, knowing that this is forever. this connection. Even if we leave the Zoom room, we will still feel every time we remember and tune into this golden circle, river of light. Thank you so much. It's been just a blessing and a great joy to be with you all today. Travel very well, stay safe, and be free.
Thank you so much, sister. And it's like what you said, what are we going to do in the next 24 hours that matters the most? So every day, 8 days, we're going to have the 8 powers. And then 6 days, is it, of following 3 minutes of meditation and follow-ups, all waiting for you, all in line, waiting for you just to tune in. And Sister Caroline Ward is with us, and we are so glad and so honored. Om Shanti. Thank you, sister.
Thank you, Dimple. Let's put the gallery on. Can everyone put their cameras on just before we...
Yeah, we could take a photo. That's nice.
we can say goodbye. Everybody can wave. We can look. There are all these. I know all these faces. My gosh, I was seeing names, but I didn't realize I knew all these faces. Wonderful. Okay, come on. Everyone's got their cameras on. Yeah, look at this. These sparks behind these amazing faces from all over the world. Come on. Maybe all these people have gone for dinner. Okay, thank you all very much. Great to be with you. Take care. Bye-bye. Yay. Ciao, ciao.